In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the best FPS games available in virtual reality. Now, the first half of this list is going to be focused on solo experiences, the second half is going to be on multiplayer experiences, and I just want to thank everyone for getting involved in choosing what genre of games we were going to pick for the first of this video series. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be diving into many other genres as well, so make sure you stick around the channel if you're excited for that. Smash like, subscribe, all of those good things. But before we dive into this list, I want to thank today's channel sponsor, bHaptics. bHaptics has some huge news to share with you today, as the X40 and X16 are now officially made for Meta products. These are super easy to connect up via Bluetooth to your Quest 2, Quest 3 or Quest Pro, with over 250 games already natively built into support with the vest, and they're going to give you that immersive feedback that you've been looking for. Honestly, I couldn't go without my vest at this point. It just adds that level of immersion that you need to bring you into the game, where you can feel every bullet, feel every punch, and it just feels freaking amazing. You'll be able to find links to buy your own today in the description down below, or of course in the pinned comment. Massive thank you to bHaptics for sponsoring today's video, and now let's dive into the first FPS title that we're going to be talking about. Now, I couldn't make a list like this without including Half-Life Alyx, one of the all-time best FPS solo experiences. Now, in this game, you're going to be able to dive through a very in-depth story that has nothing but excitement, action, and of course, well, that story-driven element to it. And of course, the first-person shooting that is involved in the entirety of the way through this, in this action-packed adventure. A high recommend from me. Please experience this at some point in your life if you have not. This is of course PCVR, but you can connect your Quests up and connect into the PCVR side of things via that, or of course in the future you'll even be able to use your PSVR 2 to connect to your PC and experience it that way as well. So lots of options there to dive in and experience this. A high recommend from me. As I said, this list would not be complete without Half-Life Alyx on it. Next up, we have a twofer with Bone Lab and of course Boneworks. Both of these games being intense first-person shooters where you get to dive in there. Of course, these games really toy with the physics of the world as well, so you get to experience all of these wonderful things. Now, Bone Lab is actually available on the Quest natively as well if you want to get in there and play that on that platform, or of course on PCVR for both games. I'd be blown away if at some point you haven't seen one of these on the internet at this point, as this game is phenomenally big for a very good reason. All of the physics and interactions in this game feel absolutely phenomenal, and of course it's that really high level, high depth VR that we really love to experience. So if you're looking for something like that and you're looking for an extensive first person experience, then Bone Labs or Boneworks is going to be absolutely incredible for you. And I know I said Bone Labs, it's not got an S on the end of it. You can get me in the comments. Next up, we have another twofer with Resident Evil 4. Now, the reason I call this a twofer is because you can play Resident Evil 4 on the Quest natively, or you can play the remake version that is available on the PSVR 2. Now, trust me, both of these experiences are absolutely top notch in that sort of horror-esque area where you're also getting in with a first-person shooter at the same time. This game is just unlike any other, and honestly there's a reason why Resident Evil 4 keeps on getting life back into it, and that's because, well, it's one of the best in the franchise and it's just a solid experience throughout. If you're looking for something with a bit of mystery, a little bit of puzzle solving, and of course definitely some sort of intense horror, then Resident Evil 4 is really going to tick all of those boxes whilst you're holding that gun in your hand and having that first-person shooter experience. A top-notch one at that. Make sure you check this out. And again, I'm trying to pick these titles that are giving you this experience no matter what platform you're on. So we have an oldie but a goodie. Super Hot. Super Hot. It's really hard to say super or hot around a lot of VR people without someone screaming super hot, because this game is really kind of an iconic game to be playing in virtual reality. Now, this very much is one of those things that is a part of virtual reality for a good reason, and it is one of those games that I really would love everyone to experience at some point. Super Hot is a fantastic experience where when you move, time moves, and it's unlike anything else that we really have in VR at its current state, so definitely one to check out if you haven't already. I'll be blown away if some of you haven't, but nonetheless, make sure you get this on your list of games that you need to experience at some point. Next up, we have The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 and 2. Of course, both of these are incredible first-person shooters because, well, without those guns, you are left in a pretty gnarly situation. Of course, you have the other advantages of knives and various other tools that you can use throughout the entire world, but nonetheless, at its core, this is an FPS game. It is a really cool and unique experience if you want to get into that sort of spookier side of things again, and of course, have that intense experience of being in a zombie-filled apocalyptic world. This game is top-notch from its storytelling right the way through to its core mechanics, giving you a full and complete experience from start to finish in both chapters of this game. Honestly, if you want to lose yourself for 40 to 60 hours, then download these two games and you're going to be good for a hell of a long time, and you're going to have a great experience all the way through. Next up, we have Into the Radius. This is a very intense stealth-like game where you're going to be able to dive in and experience another post-apocalyptic type of world, except for this one is filled with a very different kind of creature, like shadow monsters and all of these other crazy things that are going on. This game is just phenomenal because it is really got that survival element to it going on, as well as its shooting. So this is a very high recommend from me. It's one of the most unique experiences I've had in virtual reality, because the way that it makes you feel having that solitude inside of the radius, well, it's unlike anything else you're ever going to experience. A high recommend from me if you're really into sort of like your looting and you're grabbing stuff, putting it together, cleaning of weapons, really organization, and on top of that, that intensity of being out in the field and experiencing the terrifying monsters that you have to fight your way through, and of course scrounging up the things that you're out there to do your missions to complete. This is a very complete package, and one that's going to again give you plenty of time in there and worth the price tag. Next up is another oldie but goodie. It's Robo Recall. Honestly, this is such a fun and gnarly game to jump into. I really enjoyed this one when I played it back in the day, and it is one of those games I revisit every now and then just because of how fun the action and freaking shooting is in this game. This one is just an absolute blast where you'll be able to like literally throw your weapon at someone, break their head off, get the head back at you, get that, shoot another guy, all happening in like slow motion and craziness, and everything about this just feels phenomenal. If you haven't experienced this game, it is an older game. It's available on PC and on Quest as well, so make sure you dive into this one as it's just a phenomenal experience. Next up, we have Arizona Sunshine 1 and 2. Man, I feel like there's so many twofers in this list, but you know, when a good game comes around and you get a sequel to it, well, then you have to make use of enjoying both of those games. Well, Arizona Sunshine is based in another post-apocalyptic zombie-filled world, but this one is done with a lot more comedy and panaz, as you have the voiceover of the actor that is honestly phenomenal throughout both of these games, giving you just like this step-by-step funny ass experience as you have the narration going on from that. Of course, you have a little bit more jokier side to Arizona Sunshine than you do something like The Walking Dead, and it just keeps you on your toes throughout, whilst being an incredible shooter, blowing off zombie heads, limbs, and all other things that come with that, and of course having a very solid story experience in both 1 and 2. These games are phenomenal, well worth checking out, and again well worth their price tag because they'll give you the hours back that you put into them, so very, very cool. Also with this, you have the added bonus of being able to do co-op in both of these games, so although they are mainly focused on being solo games, you do have that advantage as well. And last on the solo side of things, we have Vertigo 1 and 2. Both of these games are absolute phenomenal experiences with some weird, wacky and wild times that you're going to have inside of them. The only thing I could really put this to is akin to something like Half-Life Alyx, because it is a very fully established game in the sense that it has incredible physics, incredible storytelling, and while this one also has some crazy comedy elements to it too, as well as some weird and wacky stuff that's going on. It kind of feels like you've been sucked into Spy Kids in some respects, because you're going to come across some weird ass enemies that are going to, yeah, make you feel like you're in Spy Kids. Other than that though, this game is an incredibly solid experience, made by a very passionate developer that made this game. Is such a unique experience all through and through. I highly recommend that you check this out. 1 is available on PC and 2 is available, I believe, on PC and PSVR too. So make sure you check this one out, as it's a high recommend from me, and if you know, you know, this game is freaking dope. Next up, we're going to dive into the multiplayer FPS experiences. Now, I wanted to bundle these two in together because I felt like it feels right to talk about both the solo and the multiplayer experiences in this. And let's kick this off with a oldie but still a very solid title, Pavlov. Pavlov is one of the ultimate experiences to get into first-person shooting in a multiplayer way, because there's so much to do in this game. It really fulfills all of your needs. You're going to have a ton of different game modes, from zombies to, well, modded out experiences. This game is just kind of got it all, and it's available on all platforms, giving you no excuse not to dive into this one. If you want a full-on multiplayer experience that really ticks all of those sort of CSGO type feelings of first-person shooters, this one is that, but in virtual reality, and it really is just a solid experience all around. The gun mechanics, gun feeling, reloading, all of the stuff that you want to be out of a game like this just feel phenomenal in it. It's a huge tick all round. Next up, if you want to experience something a little bit more Fortnite-y, well, you have Pop 1. This is very much more an arcadey experience where the reloading is very basic. It's very easy to get into and learn, whether this is like your first VR game that you get, all the way to an experienced person. The experience comes into this through playing it more. and of course getting better in the battlefield, where you're going to take out all those noobs and destroy people and get that chicken dinner at the end of this. This one really is more like that Fortnite-y feel to it, as it does have stuff like building in there, but it's a really unique experience in its own way too. Plus this is free to play, so it's accessible to anyone to dive into and get in there and just have an absolute blast. Like I say, this is one of those games that's good for whether you're brand new to VR or very experienced. It's got all the comfort levels you're going to need to experience this in any way you want it to, so a high recommend from me. Next we go into Ghost of Tabor. This is the very opposite of what I've just said, as this is more of an experience VR game, I would say, as it has that grindy, slow elements to it, something akin to something like Escape from Tarkov, which this game is very much in the same genre of gaming, where you're going to need to go into an area, you're going to grab as much as you can, loot as much as you can, and take those high risk moments of getting that loot out and exfilling back to your place at the end of it. Now this one's full of thrills and blood spills, because you're going to have some really heartache moments in this, where you have your bag full of dope loot and get sniped from across the map by some person who's going to absolutely ruin your day, or in the opposite end of that, you're going to have that bag of loot and exfil out there with the biggest smile on your face. That is the risk reward factor to this game, and it's freaking amazing for it. And of course it's all about being in there with other people, because they are the most unpredictable, and yeah, it's really got all those elements that you're looking for in a game like that. Next up, if you want some teamwork in a multiplayer FPS, well, Breaches has got your back, my dudes, and this again is available on all platforms, so no excuses not to be able to dive into this one. Breaches is the ultimate teamwork Rainbow Six style game in virtual reality. This has so many cool elements to it, from the way that you attach all of your weapons to the way you have the buying rounds. From the attacking or defense side, you can literally zip down line a building, bust in a window and take out the entire team, and it feels just incredible. They've also just added like a competitive mode to this as well, so there's like a ranked system where the more you play it, the more rewarded you are, and of course the higher rank you become within the game. There's so many cool things to this game. I genuinely love this one. It's one that eats up plenty of my time in my free time, and I highly recommend that you get into this if you're looking for that Rainbow Six sort of feeling, but in virtual reality. And last but not least is a game that's actually dropping this week, later this week, but I included it because I know this list is going to get viewed outside of this week by people, and that, my friends, is Contractors Showdown. This is a phenomenal game that I have already spent way too many hours in, like probably 20-30 plus already, and the game's not even out yet. I just got lucky enough to be in there for the beta testing. This game is phenomenal. If you're looking for essentially Call of Duty Warzone and a mixture of that mixed in with a bit of PUBG in virtual reality, then this is going to be the game for you. Get in there, get on that ground, get running, pick up a weapon, upgrade that weapon as you go through it, finding all the attachments you're going to need, finding all the cash you're going to be able to buy extra things with, of course all of the extra things that come with that, grenades and all the fun stuff, and then get into a match of surviving and being the last person alive in that situation to be able to walk away with that victory. That's what this game is all about. Now that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I tried to give you a real rounded experience in all the different types of first-person shooters that you can get, from solo to multiplayer, and just an all-round bit of an experience for those different types of flat games that you may be looking for in virtual reality. Now, of course, if I've missed any of those out, or I've missed any of your favorites, let us know in the comments down below. Share your knowledge with everyone else, and share those games with everyone else, because, you know, if someone else is looking for something, you might be the key and the answer to that. So feel free to drop them in the comments down below. Other than that, smash like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new, and keep an eye on the community tab, because I'm going to be putting the vote up after this video so that you can pick the next genre of games that we dive into finding the best of in virtual reality. I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. Bye.